Chapter 6. Mickey and Sena Aftermath. That morning, Sena put on his school uniform for the first time in 3 weeks. It's been a while since I went to the GP Academy. He had finished his bioenhancement training without any problems and was to resume schooling at the GP Academy from that day on. His classes were mostly going to be communication and practical skills and things of that nature. Amain and Kariko had caught him up, so there was no lapse in his teaching. I solved the biggest problem, which was physical fitness, so now I just have to keep going. Well, Sonny, soon it will be a long time I reckon since you got here. NB said in an old man voice. NB, please don't do anything strange at school. Everything that goes on here is a secret. I understand, young man. I've been keeping secrets since before you were a young whippersnapper. Yes, but sometimes you bring up some strange things. Well, Irma said it wouldn't be an issue though, and if she says so then I guess it's okay. Kariko came in pushing a food cart. Good morning, Sena. Following Kariko, Jaikirin and Karen came in. They carried with them a large table and began preparing for breakfast. By the time the preparation had almost finished, Irma and Amain came in. After Amain's parents visited unexpectedly, life at Amain's house calmed down. Of course, it also helped that Sirio, Eri and Mickey weren't around causing trouble, but it was also due to them all coming to know each other and their living habits. Amain, Kariko, and Irma began assisting Sena with the classes that they specialized in, and Hakurin and the maids kept watch on Sena. Sena's room quickly became the place for everyone to hang out instead of the living room, and breakfast was now held in Sena's room. Somehow, it looks like we're all one big family. Although it had only been 3 weeks, the atmosphere at breakfast was enough to make Sena think that way. Sena-chan, in a week or so we will begin to move you back to the dormitory, so please start getting the things you need for that together. If you have anything else you need, let me know and I will buy it for you, Kariko said. It's okay, I have everything I need. The dormitory is close to here. If you have something you need, you can come pick it up from here easily. And don't forget, if you want you can come over anytime. Amain said. She sounded like her father Masumi, like she didn't really want Sena to go, but no one pointed this out for fear of angering her. Amain, don't forget you are also a lecturer at the GP Academy, so you will be seeing him throughout the day. Oh, that reminds me it's time for us to go. Yes, let's get going, Irma said, standing up and finishing off her coffee. Your ride is here. Jaikirin and Karen presented Irma's car to her at the door of the house. They got in and drove off through the highway connecting Amain's island apartment to the mainland. The sunny sky and the brilliant tropical aquamarine sea shone green with the morning sun, and the coral reefs inside it made for a spectacular view as they drove to the academy. You know, now that you're going to be gone from Amain's, I'm going to miss you a bit, said Irma. I also like that house. Are you still going to live there, Irma? Well, I ended my lease with the place where I was living before, and I don't have to pay rent at Amain's, and I don't have to make meals. We have maids to do all the chores, and the living situation is pretty great. I see no reason to move. Besides, I've never been roommates with people the same age as me. It's a lot of fun. What about when you went to school? The people who raised, I moved here to work. I have never been to school. But even if I get to live with my work colleagues, it still won't be the same without you. Really? But I have never really been that lonely because, face it, I'm pretty cute. Irma replied with a smile and a wink. She was the polar opposite when compared with Sena, who was shunned by everyone around him. Please come back for the occasional holiday. It's always fun to hang out with friends. I will find time and try to return as often as I can. After all, that's my home. Sena looked happy as he watched the island disappear behind them. Their conversation stopped and time passed without words for a while. A couple minutes later, the car approached a group of GP Academy students on the sidewalk. Irma noticed Rajo and Kalichi in it. She stopped the air car a little bit away from the crowd so that they wouldn't bother Sena. Sorry, Sena, you might get a little bit of attention today, so I'll drop you off here. Thank you for taking me to school. Sena got out of the car with NB. Have a nice day. Be careful. Irma waved and winked, then she U-turned the air car and went into a small side street. At the same time, Rajo and Kalichi ran up to Sena. Sena, how are you? Was that Irma driving that car just now? Why did she drop you off? Rajo, who is this person? Sena said looking at Kalichi. Sena saw Elroy and Finger running at the top and noticed that the group Rajo was waiting with was filled with members of the Amain and Kariko fan clubs, so Sena quickly tried to escape. However, Rajo and Kalichi kept him from running off, and he was soon surrounded by a large number of students. We're not letting you go till you tell us about these last 3 weeks. But soon a stampede of wild boars came out from the forest near the dorm and trampled the students. 3 hours later, there were 596 students who had been brought to the military-scale medical unit that had been hastily set up on the ground to treat the victims of the stampede. Because the GP Academy instructors were all qualified to administer quasi-medical care, Kariko and Irma were there to help, as well as the GP's medical staff and military doctors and a few civilian physicians. Somehow NB was also able to work in emergency situations and was also helping out. A stampede hasn't happened in decades. Everyone here is lucky that they aren't dead. Mikami sighed as she looked at the site. Next to all the injured was Sena, standing almost unharmed, with a puzzled expression on his face. Even though you were in the center of that runaway stampede, you only have minor injuries. I wonder if you should say that too. Sorry, ma'am. Ho ho ho, don't worry about it. Mikami smiled wryly, to Sena who bowed his head many times. Principal Mikami, everyone has been accounted for. All right then, I'm going now. Mikami struck Sena's shoulder and went up to the Central Command Center, which was on the floor above them. After Mikami was gone, Kenneth and Miranda came up to Sena. And after waiting a while, Mickey came too. When I saw the disaster, I realized that Sena must have finally come home, ha ha ha. Kenneth said. Everyone looks pretty banged up. It serves them right. It'll teach those idiots a lesson. Miranda said laughingly. Her name is Miranda. She's my teammate. Mickey explained. Was that WoW with Rajo? Also your teammate Mickey-senpai? Yes, Kalichi is sleeping over there. Mickey pointed over to a capsule with the WoW girl. That man? Is that Mickey-senpai's father? Once, I had to get a doctorate degree in bioengineering and a doctor's license in order to get a promotion. It's rare though that I've ever have an opportunity to put it to use. But... The Hiroshi that Sena was familiar with was a somewhat comical and quirky scientist, but his facial expressions right now were the kind that a brave and famous doctor would have. Sena wasn't the only one who noticed. The amateurs around him also noticed him work and seemed to admire his way of doing things. Mickey-senpai, your father, is he always this good at his work? I wish that was always the case. We should go out and have lunch. If we stay here, we will only get in the way. Mickey said happily. She wrapped her arm around Sena's and led him outside. Kariko watched. Oh wow, you sure are being mature about the Mickey situation. You haven't made a peep at all. Have you given up? Irma asked. Hold on, my work is almost finished. Done. Kariko quickly finished the medical work she was doing and got ready to leave the place quickly. Are you coming with me? Kariko asked Hiroshi. I'm still at work. Sorry, Kariko casually bowed. Are you sure you're worried about Sena and not worried about Mickey's father being your father? He's not my father, he is just an old friend of my mother's. Kariko said, trying to get Irma to drop the subject. Oh, I see. Irma teased Kariko. But Kariko quickly glanced at Hiroshi and whispered to Irma. But if you look at his daughter, you might notice something about Mickey. Oh, I see, Irma said. Kariko had noticed something in Hiroshi that reminded her of Sena. Kariko tried to head in the direction Sena had gone, but he had just finished his bioenhancement training and was able to walk quickly like everyone else, so he had gotten away from her. She realized this and immediately stopped walking. She changed direction and headed to the Central Command Center to see Mikami. Okay, we're going to go get lunch. You two go and find us a place to eat it. Kenneth accompanied Miranda and headed towards the transfer port. Well then, let's get going. Mickey took Sena's hand and took him to a promenade that cut through the forest. Remember this procedure for the future. You should be able to memorize it after only seeing it once. It's not hard. First of all, the boardwalk was built with 2 rows of large cobblestone stones. Mickey started walking on the right side of the 2 rows. After about 10 meters, the 2 rows of cobblestone turned into a single big cobblestone. This single stone serves as a landmark. I will walk on the left side, and when we get to the next big stone, and then we will go to the other side until the next stone, like so. Mickey released Seina's hand and began to go ahead skipping lightly. Right. Seina stood for a while fascinated by the figure of Mickey skipping through the forest singing as the sunbeams shone on her. What are you doing? Come on. Seina quickly followed Mickey. She grabbed him by the hand again when he caught up to her. Do I have to lead you again already? Mickey's tone reminded him of Kariko's when he was a child. Mickey noticed Seina thinking about this. Hey now, you're not thinking about Miss Masaki, are you? Oh, sorry about that. Yes. Kariko. I was thinking about Professor Masaki. We seem to be very similar, Miss Masaki and I. Yes, you two have the same atmosphere about you. Seina, who noticed that Mickey's voice wasn't angry, but rather relieved. Actually, when I saw Miss Masaki, I was a bit surprised, probably a lot more than others think. Mickey took Seina's hands and stopped as soon as he arrived in front of a large square area. The area was tiled with a circle of about 15 meters in diameter, consisting of stones about 5 meters in diameter. Its surroundings were made up of elongated lithographs radially assembled like an analog clock dial. Mickey grabbed Seina by the hand and began walking again. Now, move from here clockwise. Mickey stopped at the stone pavement in the direction of about 2 o'clock and again released Seina's hand. She started walking towards the center circle from there. As soon as she entered the center, she disappeared. Mickey-senpai. Seina hurried after her and was enveloped in the darkness. He felt like he was floating. The next moment, he was thrown into a normal space with dazzling light. We've arrived. Mickey turned around and looked at Seina, smiling. Behind Mickey, there was a pretty and expansive geometrically built European-style garden. Mickey-senpai, where are we? Mickey took Seina's hand as he looked around, and they climbed several flights of stairs and came to a broad cobblestone terrace. Wow, he could see the full view of the GP Academy spread before him as he approached the fenced-off terrace. Are you surprised? This is one of the floating islands in the academy. Mickey looked at Seina's surprised expression with satisfaction. The floating islands were built by the philosophy department. Aircraft are neither allowed to approach nor land on them. The way to come here is through the transfer devices. And since you must know the special patterns to get here, only a few people know how to get here. Oh, that's amazing! The key pattern was passed down from my senpai to her closest juniors. The academy has lots of special secret gates, just like this all throughout it. So then, is this your secret hiding place? Shit, this is a relatively well-known place. Mickey turned to lean back against the fence. Seina turned around as well and could see that there were quite a few students under the shade of the plants and trees nearby. Do you want to see my secret place? Mickey whispered in Seina's ears. What? That. Seina turned bright red. Ahahaha, Mickey began to laugh at his red face. I'm sorry, your reaction was just priceless. Mickey apologized as Kenneth came through the transfer gate. It seems that our delivery has arrived. Let's go, Seina. Mickey took Seina and led him towards Kenneth. They're already assigning you to practical training? Seina asked as he finished lunch on the terrace bench. Yes, after 2 years, I'll get to work at an actual site for a half year, and then they will give me a handful of assignments to choose from based on my aptitude. After the next half year, I'll come back and officially graduate. I want to graduate as soon as possible. Kenneth stood up posed like he was shooting a gun. Kenneth, are you aspiring to join the criminal division? Obviously, I want to become a first-class detective and catch bad guys. I know this is an odd question to ask, but what did it feel like to catch hundreds of space pirates all at once? What kind of person is Sita-sama? And what kind of woman was Widow? Miranda asked Seina as if she was a nervous reporter. Calm down. He can't answer all those questions at once, Mickey said. Actually, I don't remember much of when I was chased by those space pirates. I was just frantically fleeing. We're just lucky we got help from Sito's fleet. I heard you met with Sito, and that you entered the Mikagami as well. I investigated her a lot later, but from what I have seen published, almost everything about her as well. Sito-sama was a much friendlier person than the rumors give her credit for. It's thanks to Sita-sama that I'm in space. I'm so envious. There's a big difference in seeing the ship in person and seeing it on video. You are so lucky to have been invited to see it directly. Sito is such a hard person to even talk to. Sena himself was originally from the same planet as the Jurian First Empress Funaho. Kenneth probably chimed in like Sena wasn't there. I hear you also captured Widow by yourself. Hey Kenneth, are those reporters still after you about that? It's been about a week or so since they last tried to chase Rajo and me down. There sure were a lot of them though. Oh, I didn't realize. I'm sorry about that, Sena said. Don't worry, it's because we're your teammates, but it's frustrating. I can't believe Rajo and I almost came so close to Widow. So, what kind of person was Widow? Miranda got excited and turned back to Sena again. What kind of person? She was a normal person. Sena was aware that this was a terribly stupid answer, and it was far too far from the answers Miranda and the others would have liked to hear. Huh? She looked at Sena with confused eyes. Well, I only saw her as an ordinary person. Sena tried to remember the situation of that time in as much detail as possible at that time. She had called out to him, he felt an earthquake, and then the huge structure they were on dropped. Sena zoned out. Hey, Sena. Mickey shook him back to reality. Huh? As soon as he snapped back, Mickey let him go and sighed. Your explanation of Widow is fine the way it is. I understood it somehow. Kenneth and Miranda nodded at Mickey's words. Oh, okay then. So, Miranda-senpai, Mickey-senpai, where did you choose to do your practical training? Kenneth changed the subject to break the tension. Kalichi and I have been assigned to the Courier Affairs Department, and Mickey has been assigned to the Decoy Department. Miranda said. Wow! The Decoy Department. That Decoy Department. Yes, by going there Mickey can choose to go anywhere she wants when she's done, but I still don't know why she decided to be assigned to such a dangerous department. Dangerous? Sena said looking at Mickey. Well, this is the GP Academy. We are the Galaxy Police. Even if it's dangerous, the criminal division is far more dangerous. Mickey said, trying to relieve Sena's anxiety. Yeah, that's right. But the decoy section is said to be dangerous, but it's really quite boring, Mickey said. They don't catch criminals, but it's an important department for the parcel delivery service, Kenneth said. Well, I'm sorry. I'm glad I had a chance to meet Sena and you guys, but I have to go now, Miranda said. So, when are your seniors leaving for practical training? Kalichi and I are leaving in a week. Mickey is leaving tomorrow. Miranda said a bit sadly. What? So suddenly? Kenneth and Sena were surprised and looked at Mickey. Originally, if there hadn't been computer problems, I would have been gone by now, but since they're fixed, they're rushing me out. In contrast to Miranda, Mickey spoke with a flat expression and stood up with her empty lunchbox. Mickey-senpai. Half a year will pass by quickly. I'll see you then. Mickey said. Sena tried to think of what to say, but Mickey quickly walked to the transfer gate with Miranda and left. We can see her off tomorrow. You can say goodbye then, and as she said, it's only half a year. Kenneth said as he put his hands on Sena's shoulder and stared at the transfer gate to comfort Sena, who was still looking at the place where Mickey disappeared. Yeah, that's right, and we have to get to class soon too. Hey Kenneth. What exactly is going to happen in the decoy division? Mickey-senpai said that it was going to be boring, but Sena looked worried. Oh yeah, actually it is hard for space pirates to find a shipping ship in outer space. Of course, it's not impossible to some extent, but without any information the potential of encounter rate is close to zero, so they are always gathering in-depth information on the shipping routes. If all the information leaks can be prevented, there is no need for a decoy. But space pirates are very organized when it comes to information gathering, and there are even people who sell information to the space pirates. So the best the GP can do is deploy a decoy ship and try and leak information leading them to the dummy ship. Is that how the decoy force works? Well, since they deliver their location information intentionally, it's natural that their encounter rate with the space pirates will be higher compared to the other shipping departments. That sounds dangerous. Sena inspected Kenneth's face, awaiting a reaction. Kenneth only winked and smiled. Well, just because they're in a decoy ship doesn't mean they're going to be on their own undefended, and it's not like she is just going to be sitting there doing nothing. Even on decoy units, there are many things to do from maintenance to clerical work, and also if the pirates capture them, they just surrender and receive a consolation prize, so there's rarely any damage done to them. A consolation prize? Empty containers for shipping, especially those used for decoy ships, are good for sending valuable goods. They can also be used as building materials, and of course they can also be sold on the black market. In that case, the customers are usually the GP themselves. Why do they buy back the stolen goods? It's cheaper than building a new one, and it costs less than having the shipment stolen, like Miranda was saying. She will be fine. Let's get going, Sena. Kenneth got up, patted Sena on the shoulder, and they went to the transfer gate. They arrived into their classroom right before their lesson started. When their class was over, they had a small break. Hey, Kenneth. I have something to show you, David of the Ryoko fan club called to Kenneth. Unlike his teammates, Elroy and Fingu, he was not involved in the stampede this morning. Me? Kenneth asked. Next to him, Sena got an email on his NB. Who is it from? Miki-senpai. Sena confirmed that no one was around and began reading it. Huh, I see. Hey, NB. Kenneth said. Oh, Sena jumped. NB erased the email suddenly. The bell for the next class rang. Amain was in her classroom waiting for the next class. I thought we were supposed to be back at work again. It can't be helped. Class was cancelled in the afternoon due to the stampede this morning. By the way, did you hear about Miki? I know. She's been assigned to the decoy department. If you are thinking of suddenly changing departments to spy on her, you should ask Eri. No. Kariko is much better off assigned to Sena, Eri said, suddenly appearing behind the two. Kariko and Amain didn't seem too surprised. Eri, aren't you supposed to be at work? I am at work. Eri brought up a monitor to show Kariko the email NB had received from Miki. Here. I got this from NB this afternoon, Eri said, boasting a bit before remembering that Amain didn't know that NB had a spy feature. Don't worry, I figured out what was going on a while ago. Amain was smiling at Eri. Well, it's a trivial matter really. The most important issue is Sena. We have no time to discuss my wrongdoings when Sena could be making plans to get it on with Miki. Eri clasped her fist in resolve. Okay, whatever. The three of them stared at the monitor. Each started working on their plan that would be dubbed the Sena and Miki's Last Goodbye Meeting Interference Operation, or the SMLGMO. After class was over, Sena got up from the monitor he was working on and NB followed him. Oh, Sena. Wanna go hang out for a while? Kenneth asked. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a hurry, Sena said, and he tried to run off, but soon a group of students came in front of him and blocked his path. Apparently the information in that anonymous email seems to be true. David, their leader, said. You might as well give up meeting Miki-senpai until you answer our interview, Sena. What? Why? Sena was in a hurry though, and he knew that behind him was a fenced-off area with a staircase that went down to the floor below. The problem with that being that it was unstable and rickety. Because it's me, I know if I go there I'll probably trip and fall off the ledge. Oh, but what about the fence? The fence was a grid of thick pipes, and it seemed that people could get through it easily enough. Sena held NB and dashed for it. He ducked down and slid under the gap between the fence and the wall. But he slid a bit too much through the gap and found himself on the edge of the cliff looking down. All right. Sena quickly regained his balance and climbed down the stairs and got on the transfer pad. Wow! The students who had been chasing him were amazed by his swift getaway. In Eri's office, she and Kariko were carrying out their plan when suddenly NB, who they were using to track Sena, strayed off course and disappeared. Kariko. That day? Why was Miki with you on the day my fucking father came? What? That? Oh! Damn it. Kariko remembered what happened that day and suddenly knew why NB disappeared. What's wrong? Well, sorry, that girl, she also knows about NB's spy function. Kariko turned her face away from Eri, who approached her with an angry expression. Why? I sort of was using it to spy on Amain. Ahaha. It's not a laughing matter. Oh, that girl. I will find her, even if I have to use the Academy's first-class alert network. I will find Sana and you Mickey Steinbeck, and I will keep Sana out of your evil hands. Eri said intensely. Ms. Kariko Masaki, you have a delivery. A voice knocked on the door. Yes, I will go right now and pick it up. Kariko said, sneaking off to the door to get away from Eri. Thank you for your hard work. What is it? Ah. The delivery man presented her with a crate. She signed for it, and it had a ton of wrapping on it as if it had been duct taped over and over again. After struggling to unwrap it, she found NB inside. Hey, why are you there? Get over here and help. Eri said, throwing random things towards Kariko and NB. Wait a moment. What is that? Oh, you got it back. Brilliant. Hey Kariko, what's wrong? Oh, nothing. Despite saying that, Kariko's expression was obviously worried. She noticed a small message card in the case. There was a handwritten letter written there. Damn it, damn that girl. I'll begin the search for Sana using the high-level surveillance system. Kariko, please ask NB for assistance. Ms. Eri, let's stop this, we can't win. Huh? A main who was on Eri's side was confused by Kariko's statement. It is our role to protect Sana as his teachers. You traitor. Did I ever tell you how Minaho was conceived? Eri whispered in Kariko's ear. Suddenly Eri started smiling. Minaho was born because Eri and Masaki Yoshojurai did it once back when they were in school at the academy because she was leaving. Kariko-chan, who did you hear that from? Who? From Ms. Minaho herself. Miki stood in front of Sana and led him into the depths of the forest with no words said between them. Sana looked around uneasily as they walked. Miki-senpai, where did you send my NB in that box and why? The place we're going to now is secret to all other people, no matter who they are. Haha. Miki paused and looked back to Sana. She looked somewhat irritated. You don't need to think too much about it. This is just a tradition. A kind of ceremony, and I sent NB to Miss Masaki, so don't worry. That said, Miki started walking again. Miki noticed that Sana's footstep behind her changed a bit. If the woods weren't grassy, she might have not noticed. She looked back and Sana was still there. But she remembered. That's right. This sound, the wild beasts of the forest that I've met several times in the forest. Miki realized that Sana was cautiously walking and looking out for them. However, he was doing it subconsciously. Sana, why are you walking so cautiously? I grew up in the country, so I'm used to such a place, and that's just how I'm used to walking in them. Oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. Suddenly the trees ended and opened up to stone laying in the same shape as the walking path from earlier that day. The place looked like decaying ruins in the forest. It was covered with moss and weeds. Is this where we enter? Yes, but the code is a bit different. First of all, we need to do the same procedure as the one to get to that floating island. What is different from the previous one is that it goes over here a little more and goes from the 3 o'clock direction to the center this time. Sana followed Miki and stepped onto the center disc. The transmission light faded and Sana saw that they were in a dim forest, just like the place they were before. There was a meter-long disc-shaped stone that Sana was transferred to and a stone pillar as high as 1 meter behind Miki. I'm sorry there's a lot of work to get where we're going, but this is the gate that leads to our destination. Miki smiled and placed her right hand on the stone pillar. Bing! The stone pillar began to produce a subtle light and a sound like when a wind chime made of crystal sounds. Sana, can you hit that button next to my right hand? Sana put his hand slowly on the part of the stone pillar with a rectangular cross-section polished like a mirror. This is biometric registration. The code will not work unless you're registered by a previously registered person. If you're authenticated, you can jump directly, see. Unlike the previous transfers, Sana felt a floating feeling. This was a much darker place than the forest. He looked up and saw a zigzag on the ceiling through which light was leaking. Come on. Miki was leading Sana with her warm, soft hands through the dark. As they went on, the light began to get brighter. Eventually, Sana noticed the place was a narrow alley at the bottom of a steep cliff and the lighting was the sky. That is a pretty high cliff. Sana was reflexively cautious about objects falling from the cliff, but Miki's grip calmed him. Miki stopped in front of the exit to their destination. She suppressed the impulse to want to show him her favorite place right away. It was more important to make sure it was safe for him. Even though it was dark, the lack of light gave her poor vision. She decided to take time to let her pupils adjust before going out to the open place outside. There could have been danger out there for Sena. Of course, Sena was used to coping with such situations. But it was better to avoid unnecessary dangers altogether. All right, we arrived. Mickey released Sena's hand and slowly went outside. Sena's eyes adjusted to the light, and he could see a grassland and flower garden come into view. Sena slowly and carefully walked outside. Oh, wow. The scenery was beautiful and looked like it was a bright watercolor painting. The fresh air and brilliant green were filled with the brilliant colors of the rich variety of flowers within it, and the light of the sun reflected on the dew on the flowers. I'm glad you like it, Mickey said, and she burst out laughing watching Sena's reaction to the scenery. Sena looked around at the scenery until Mickey's laughter ceased. Where they were was at the bottom of a huge hole surrounded by a nearly vertical cliff wall. But the hole was angled on the slope of a mountain. For that reason, the light of the sun fully illuminated the inside of the hole. This is a beautiful flower garden, Sena said. It looks like it's a flower garden, but look a little closer. Mickey stabbed the ground with a nearby stick. The stick pierced the ground and water came up from it. Water? Mickey-senpai, this is. Everything that looks like a meadow is actually grown on top of a lake. Everything here is a group of aquatic plants, and the flowers are all of the same kind of plant even though they look different. Really? Mickey-senpai, the flowers all look different. I don't even know all the details, but the important thing here is that it's beautiful. Mickey winked. I'm sorry. I have something I'd like to talk to you about, but let's explore a bit more first. Mickey took Sena's arm and pulled him into a stone passage about 2 meters wide installed along the cliff. They emerged at a place with lots more exposed water with long thin rocks peeking through the surface of the water. Several trees grew on the rocks. It looked like an ink painting of a mountain valley. We're going over there, Mickey said, pointing to a cave. You're joking, right? She took Sena's hand as they crossed a stepping stone bridge heading for the cave. However, if you looked closely, the bridge was made of stepping stones, but it was a combination of rectangular stones without gaps. It incorporated a whitish stone into the pebbled stone to make it look like a stepping stone. Perhaps the stepping stones were subjected to a process that made it difficult for the moss to grow on it. In the vicinity of the cave, there was no water grass covering the surface of the water. The water wasn't that deep, and the white sand at the bottom of the water was swaying blue. The fish in the water had dark silver scales that glittered around the pillar supporting the bridge. Wow, look at the fish. Sena looked into the surface of the water like a small child. Come on, let's hurry up, Mickey said, pulling Sena like a mother pulling a child away from a shiny toy. The inside of the cave was wider than he thought. There was nothing but a bench about 1 meter long that lined the inner wall. The cave itself was about 20 square meters and had a staircase to the second floor. Mickey pulled Sena's hand as if to hurry and went up the stairs. Wow, they went up the stairs. The sight in front of them opened up into a scene like a panorama. They could see almost a complete 180 view of the area around them. It was as if there were no walls around them at all. They could see the sea and many islands, and in the distance snow-peaked mountains could be seen. Do you like it? Mickey asked. Of course, but, where are we in the academy exactly? Here is a paradise, a country of dreams, a retreat from prying eyes, but be careful, the time zone here is over 6 hours away from the GP Academy. Oh, is that why it looks so different? The color and atmosphere of the scenery, which was illuminated by the dazzling sunlight, was really refreshing. It was late evening at the GP Academy, but it was morning here. After the flowering season, the view changes completely. Is this the flower season? After the flowers bloom, it takes around a month from now as the flowers finish reproducing, and the grass on the surface of the water withers out and almost disappears completely. That's the best time to visit. Well then, I'll check it out. Oh, Sena, you saw a fish, right? When the grass dies, it leaves a small pier. There are a lot of fish in here. The fish here are delicious enough that you can live off of them and only them if you want to. But if you fish, please eat what you catch and don't overfish. Wow, it sounds fun. But no one can come with me. Well, it would be fun if everyone could come here originally, this was a public place full of people. Currently there are about 10 people who are registered here, so you will rarely ever run into anyone. Maybe a person and their lover from time to time. Others come here to harvest the fruit that's produced when the flowers bloom. Others come to fish. Some come here to camp overnight, but for now we have it to ourselves. In case we meet again, we can always come here to have tea or fish. Oh, I am looking forward to it. I also don't know much about it because I've only seen it in from afar, but Mickey pointed at something in the distance. Is that a Jurian house? Hidden in the shade of the east, a distinctively designed tree house was built. Sena could only see half of it because it was surrounded by big trees. It seems that someone comes there occasionally to tend to it, but no one knows who or how they get in there. Perhaps there's a dedicated gate into it. Mickey looked back at the lake. Sena, I need to ask you something about my father. Mickey looked at the scenery vaguely. Mickey-senpai's father? I don't want you to take care of my father, but if you can, just check on him every now and then and make sure he is all right. That's right, it's just her and her father and her family, and she isn't going to be back for half a year. Sena, I know it's a bother. There is no one else for me to ask. So, it was unusual for Mickey to ask such a thing. They hadn't known each other that long, and her father and Sena did not exactly have a good first encounter. That's why she showed me this place. Mickey looked like she was about to cry over asking him, and for Sena this was enough reason for him to agree. Mickey-senpai, your father might get caught up in my luck if I do, but you can leave it to me. Sena told Mickey as firmly as possible. Thank you, Sena. Mickey was about to cry from joy and she turned away from Sena to go back through the stairs. Me? Mickey-senpai. Sena tried to grab Mickey's hand, but he missed. He fell into the water with a loud sound. Are you all right? Mickey turned around when she heard Sena fall and reached out to pull him up. I tripped. It's too early to swim here. It's still too cold. Haha. Maybe we can come here next year and go swimming? Sena, I'll have graduated next year. Sena looked sad. He pulled himself out of the water, and they went back to the first floor and went down another flight of stairs to the basement. If you harvest any fruit or fish here and want to save it for later, there is a storage room here. Mickey took 2 towels out of storage and gave one to Sena. You can use this thing freely. If you use consumables, please replenish them, and things that you do not want others to use can be put in the containers with biometric authentication keys. Mickey took the towel and threw it into the laundry system. It was a system Sena recognized from the dorms. Understood. Well, let's go home. If you stay too long, Miss Masaki will get angry besides. I have to prepare for tomorrow. Oh, Sena remembered that tomorrow was Mickey's farewell party. Mickey-senpai, can I see you off tomorrow? Of course, of course. They climbed the stairs, and the two of them made it back to the transfer pad. When they came back to the GP Academy, the sun was already setting. The stars were beginning to shine. After separating from Mickey, Sena was transferred to the highway entrance of the island with a maid's apartment. The maids greeted him, and so did Kuriko with NB. NB came up to him to question him, and Kuriko kicked it out of the way. Sena thought she was mad and looked at her strangely. She turned bright red out of embarrassment. She didn't want Sena knowing how she felt about Mickey. She tried to distract him by telling him that dinner was getting ready and told him to hurry up and take a bath before dinner. Sena ran off to take a bath. Wow, I can't believe Sena did that. Kuriko, your voice is trembling. Amain, you're a teacher. What would you do? I understand that you don't want to admit it, but nobody can stop the passion of youth. NB said. Kuriko became enraged and kicked NB again. Kuriko, I think that Sena's strange look at you just now was due to something else entirely, Hakuran said. You sort of just kicked NB across the room right in front of Sena. I did. No way. Kuriko turned red. She had kicked NB instinctually and didn't even realize it. Sena finished eating in the living room. Sena, are you going to see her tomorrow? Amain asked casually. Yes, I got in touch with Mickey-senpai's teammates and Kenneth and Rijo a while ago. Although only a small number of people are leaving tomorrow, it's the first team departing for practical training, so there will be a departure ceremony in the morning and there will be no morning classes, so we are supposed to go as well to see them off. Are you going to be there too? Teachers have other things they have to do, so I can't come. Sena, we need to get up early to get there on time, so please go to bed early. Yes, I will. Sena was tired from his busy day anyways and passed out as soon as he sat on his bed. Oh wow, he's asleep already. NB transformed into Kerchi and tucked Sena into bed. She stared at his face. Sleep well, I'm sorry. Today, I just want to look at your face for some reason, NB said in the voice of Kerchi, and then it returned to its original sphere shape and moved to a fixed position on the desk. The interior light disappeared, and silence dominated Sena's room.